Welcome to Hull and Estates and Succession Planning, a series of podcasts hosted by Ian Hull and Suzana Popovic-Montag. The podcast you are listening to will provide information and insights into estate planning in Canada. From the offices of Hull & Hull in Toronto, here are Ian and Suzana.
Hi, and welcome to Hull and Estate and Succession Planning. You're listening to episode 182 of our podcast on Thursday, October 1st, 2009.
Hi, Suzana.
Hi there, Ian. How are you today?
I am well, and yourself?
Good, thank you.
We are both extremely frustrated by the delay of launching our podcast because we had some outrageous technical problems.
Yes, we have.
Which included our Mac frying on us and all sorts of things that nobody really cares about.
Except for us, because we didn't get our weekly posts up.
No.
And so we're feeling a little bit of heat on that, and we do apologize to our listeners.
Absolutely. But that's okay. We're over it.
That's right. Well, one of us, anyways.
I've let go. Okay, so what we thought we'd try to do is work on a mini-series, our next mini-series, and our mini-series is going to focus on what's it like to get into and engage into litigation relating to powers of attorney. Mm-hmm. And we want to sort of, what we're trying to do, hopefully, is get into the listener's mind what it's like if you came to retain us, and what would you be involved with, and what sort of issues would we drag you through, and the courts would drag you through. So we're going to talk about power of attorney litigation, but from a client perspective.
Right, and we're also going to address the two different scenarios. One, when you actually have a piece of paper, a document you take into your lawyer's office and you say, here's the power of attorney, and the other situation when you don't have that document, but you have someone that is incapable that you want to start to somehow protect either their person or their property.
Perfect. So, given the two scenarios, first thing we're going to ask someone to come in to see us is we're going to say, well, welcome to our firm, and let's get some identification.
That's right.
Because our new rules.
Yes, that's right. The Law Society of Upper Canada has required us to identify and to verify our clients and who they are and what authority they've come to us to retain us.
So, and it's interesting, I was involved with a file down in the U.S. and I was at meetings, and we were at the first client meetings, and my client, and the first thing they asked for was identification. Yeah. So it's not uncommon with other professionals. So once we've identified who our client is, we can help delineate and determine who we're acting for. Mm-hmm. And as you said, secondarily though, is it on what authority are they acting?
That's right.
So one of the early questions we're going to ask is, give us the paper, give us the documents. I don't want to hear the whole story just yet. Give us the documents upon which we have to work from a legal standpoint.
Right, and we want the originals of those documents too. I know many times people will just carry a power of attorney that's a copy with them because that makes most sense, but certainly at some point in time during a retainer we've got to see the original document.
Absolutely. So the sooner you come with that, the better. And we tell our clients all the time when we get the initial retainer process, the more you get organized before you come see us, the better.
That's right.
And another little thing we like to do is get names and addresses and phone numbers and siblings' names and get the family tree organized. Get the whole picture of who's involved. So when you come to see us, it saves time and energy on your part and saves time and money for you from your perspective.
That's
so
right.
It's a good thing for both sides.
Never get too old to do homework, I guess.
That's right. Do your homework. And then after that, let us help you through this process, because we don't expect you to know all of the questions that need to be asked and answered, but we all can sort of work from that starting point. Mm-hmm. And another component of an early retainer with us and any lawyer, and all of this is helpful, we just find it helpful with our practice, but we know it works with other lawyers' firms as well, is that if you can put together a bit of a chronology of the events that we're dealing with. Now, whether you understand or know what might be more important or not, that's not a big deal. Like, that's our job to sort of delineate that. Mm-hmm. But a chronology of the events is also very helpful.
That's for sure.
So we've got sort of, before you get here, your homework is make sure you come with all the information, personal information on yourself. Secondly, make sure that you've got all the information about your family or the parties that are involved, whether it's outside individuals, caregivers, and the like. And then thirdly, some sort of tell us the story in preferably in written form with a chronology of the events and some of the documents behind it.
That's exactly right, Ian.
All right, so once we've got that, and that goes for all of our retainers, and in the sense of the background information we can get, what we like to do is move into really the find out what the story is about, and you know, we're not going to obviously in the podcast version talk too much about the story because every story is different, but we can identify the type of fights that we run into in a power of attorney litigation scenario, and that might be worthwhile just to sort of tell people so that they know what kind of help we can provide. Because if you're coming to us to do a real estate transaction, you've got the wrong firm.
That's for sure.
Right? But if you're coming to us to deal with a power of attorney fight, you've got the right firm. And again, it comes down to know who you're going to go see. So a lot of the time, that referral, first of all, will start from an allied professional or someone who knows an expert, a specialist. We are specialists.
That's right.
And to the extent that you want a specialist, it's always worthwhile to really engage your resources around you, the internet, friends, local lawyers, local advisors, and so on, to determine where your lawyer might fit best in your problem.
That's right. And Ian, just to step back a little bit from that, I mean, you were saying the power of attorney litigation. Many times we have clients come with us with a power of attorney document just for advice in terms of what they need to do as an attorney. And when it is that document suddenly becomes effective, so to speak, or what their obligations are. And so I think that's somewhat of a precursor to a situation where it gets more heated, but certainly one that we see quite frequently as well.
For sure. The non-contentious work is something that we do give advice on from time to time, absolutely, and it's always worthwhile just to sort of know what problems you got yourself into when you accepted the job.
Oh yeah, and as a profession, I think we're quite surprised at how often people, once there's a death, people will come to you with a will and the executor will seek advice. You don't see it quite as often from a power of attorney perspective, and I think that it's equally as important because there are certain obligations that arise just by virtue of the fact that you are named as that individual. The moment you start to act as that in that capacity, also some obligations arise, and it's always better to know what you're up against earlier rather than later.
Well, that's so true, and we obviously are focused on this podcast of all 182 of them with looking to problems, see if we can stop them before they happen.
That's right.
And it can be a really helpful tool to get to a lawyer, if not us, a lawyer, to determine what exposures you have or don't have in that regard. All right, well, what we'll do in our next podcast is continue working on, and we're pretending that you're the client, you're sitting in the chair looking across the table from us and trying to identify some of the things you're going to see and the kinds of efforts that we're going to put onto the file and so forth. So, thank you very much, Suzana.
Thanks to you.
We look forward to our next podcast, barring any technical difficulties.
That's right. Thanks very much, everyone.
You have been listening to Hull and Estates and Succession Planning by Ian Hull and Suzana Popovic-Montag. The podcast that you've been listening to has been provided as an information service. It is a summary of current issues in estates and estate planning. It is not legal advice, and you're reminded to always speak with a legal professional regarding your specific circumstance. To listen to other Hull & Hull podcasts or leave any questions or comments, please visit our website at hullestatemediation.com.